Welcome back to another amazing episode of Sports Talk with Dad. A lot to talk about today, as always, but prime time showing up in prime time and the NFL choices that I think you and I are going to vehemently disagree on. But before we get into any of that, as always, my name is Kyle, and I cannot call this Sports Talk with Dad without the man sitting next to me, a man who has once lived like the Amish because that's the only way they lived back when he was born. My dad, Tim.
I've never lived like the Amish. We had electricity, we had TV, we had air conditioning, all that fun stuff.
You keep saying that, and I don't believe you.
I know. Remember, I've always told you how I got in trouble in grade school? Because
You've told me how you've gotten in trouble several times in grade school.
Yeah, well, this one was due to history because my great-grandfather fought in the Civil War.
Yeah, I had to also prove my great-great-grandfather fought in the Civil War. Because he was born what? My great-great-grandfather, your great-grandfather was born in 1844?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
in the 1840s.
Yeah, because I would have made him in his late teens, early 20s during the Civil War. And yeah, and I had to prove it to him.
Yeah, we still have the discharge papers.
We do. Here's a trivia question for you.
Abraham Lincoln.
No. And win any bar bet, I bet.
Bar bets aren't as fun anymore because people have phones.
Yeah,
it used to be a lot more fun to know trivia in bars. Sorry, I've interrupted you twice now.
Fine. Look, anybody who's watched the show is used to it. So I just go with it.
You got Frenchie the squirrel sitting there for a reason.
Anyways, name the president, the oldest president with a grandson still alive.
Like a great-grandson or?
Grandson.
Like actual
grandson.
Like as my grandfather, I am his grandson, like that.
Correct. In lineage.
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, the max they could be in their 90s. I'd assume, like, let's be nice, say they're in their 90s, which means that person, if they're 90 today, let's say they're 93 today, that would make them born what, 1920?
Mid-20s someplace.
So now I got to go back. We had Teddy Roosevelt, who would have been back then. Woodrow Wilson would have been back then. You had Taft. All these guys had kids.
You're not even close. Not even
close. All right,
close.
so I got to go back farther. That's fine. I don't know. Who is Calvin Coolidge was the 20s, so could be, but you're saying I'm not close. So is it like Nixon? Is he newer?
No, you're not even.
Older than Roosevelt? Roosevelt was president in 1904.
Much older, like 2 centuries older.
2 centuries. Okay, so that would put us in the 1820s?
Back farther.
Excuse me?
Mm-hmm. President John Tyler, I think that's his name, is President Tyler.
John Tyler, yeah.
Was born in 1790. Okay? His grandson, not his great-grandson, not his great-great-grandson, his grandson is 93 years old and still living today. Hit the house that belonged to the family.
That's not even close to being possible.
It is when you remarry a young woman.
Even if you do that,
he fathered a son in 1853. Okay?
Uh-huh.
He was in his 70s at that time. His son fathered a child in the 1920s when he was like 75. That son had a son who was like 90 years old now.
Well, it couldn't have been that son had a son, because then it would be a great-grandkid.
No. So
the guy who was born in the 1820s is still alive today.
The guy who was born in 1850 had a son in the 1920s. He was still alive. He was like 75 years old. He had a 39-year-old wife. That son is still living today.
What?
Yes. John Tyler's grandson is still alive, and he was president in 70. He was the 10th president of the United States.
Right.
I know it's weird. I looked it up and I'm like, this can't be. This can't be.
Where did you hear this?
We can talk about it on the next episode. You can look
Tyler,
it up.
grandson. I'm looking this up right now.
This is great. This is dead air. We're going to talk about Colorado football. I watched the game.
Whoa.
It was amazing. Yes.
Ruffin Tyler is still alive today. That's crazy.
It is crazy. I mean,
Where did you hear this?
it was some random history that you wouldn't believe type little short that came up. One of my 2 a.m.
Don't
shorts.
teach your father how to use shorts on YouTube. Don't do it.
Made for great content on the show, but now we have to talk about football.
I still am trying to wrap my head around this right now.
It took me days, so it's going to take you a while to do it because I kept trying to find the flaw in this whole segue and series of events.
So
But
Jonathan Tyler died in 1863.
his son
So
was,
he was in his 60s when his son was born.
yeah, he was,
And his son was 75. The kid was born in 1920. He's 93 today.
there you go.
No, couldn't be. He's
Yeah.
older than that.
No, he's like 93.
Oh, this was as of 2017.
Well, he's still alive.
Really?
Yeah, I checked. He's still alive today.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Now I need to
that's one of those things.
refocus on the show here.
It's one of those things that just goes
It
blows your
shouldn't even
mind.
be possible.
I have a lot of respect for the Tyler men.
All right, then. Okay.
Leave it at that. So
So speaking of greatness,
yes,
Colorado is everything I dreamed they would be. So I bought this sweatshirt just so you all know. I bought this because I've worn it on the show.
you have.
As soon as I got it, I wore it on the show.
You
The
bought it.
minute Dion was hired,
You bought that.
I bought
sweatshirt.
this sweatshirt.
Yes.
I was one of the first people to buy it. I even got something saying I was one of the first people to
You
buy
probably are one of the first people on YouTube to wear it.
this. Guaranteed. Because I got it. Took probably 2 weeks for me to get this, and I wore it as soon as I got it in the mail. I remember because I got it right before a show,
Yeah.
and it still smelled like the box, and I just had to suffer through it. I knew that this was going to happen. They have the most turnover of any roster, 87 new players this year.
Well, he came in and cleared house of all of the former Colorado
Right.
players just because he said, look, if you're not going to do it my way.
All these players transferred out immediately.
Yes, they did.
Because, I mean, let's be honest, if you're as bad of a team as Colorado was last year, because they were 1-11, but they really could have easily lost all their games,
Absolutely.
and they were not performing. And if you live in a culture of not performing, there's not a lot of accountability being held to you. And so all of a sudden you come in, and here comes an actual CEO of football, a guy that not only knows how to push people, who pushed himself
Correct.
to be great.
He's asking nothing of his players that he didn't demand of himself.
That's what he keeps saying to his players.
Yeah.
It's been on every YouTube video. I'm not asking anything of you that I haven't already done
And
and won't do.
by the way, Shadora, if I'm saying his name right,
Yeah.
his son, the quarterback, everybody was saying, well, he was only good because he played at Division 1A.
HBCU, yeah.
Yeah, it's a small college. They aren't saying that now.
No,
That kid's the
they
real
shouldn't
deal.
have said it from to begin with. He was, let's not forget, he was recruited by several
Mm-hmm.
top tier programs. Florida State recruited him. TCU recruited him. Who else? I mean, you name it. He had like 25 offers.
Right.
Same with Travis Hunter.
Well, and Travis Hunter,
Everybody knew he was great.
both ways, the whole game.
Yep.
Passion like I haven't seen on a football field. He is like Shohei Ohtani in baseball.
He's proven it right now.
And he will.
Interception at what, the 2-yard line?
It was amazing. I mean, I watched that game. TCU had no idea what hit them. Now, granted, it's not the TCU of last year. They've lost players and
No,
they're
but
rebuilding.
they still put up a lot of yards. They were ranked, 17 overall?
Yeah.
And here comes an unranked Colorado. They're ranked now. They're 22 now. And they'll keep going up. They're going to play Nebraska next week, a very bad Nebraska team, and they're going to roll them.
I've heard some people thinking that Nebraska is going to beat Colorado, and I have no idea where they're getting that from.
No, because Nebraska didn't have the turnover that Colorado did. They're
Mm-mm.
still playing with a lot of the same players. That's why I always have said you can't fire a coach in the first 5 years in college. Like, you have to let them recruit their own guys. Look at Jim Harbaugh. Year 4 is when he brought them to the college playoffs and beat Ohio State for the first time. It takes that long to recruit
Well, it's obvious.
unless you do this.
Yeah, and you bring it. Thank God for the transfer portal, or Dion would have been struggling a bit.
Right.
But he was able to get all these guys in there that bought in from the word go. They are going to be now. Are they going to
Brought
win?
in his own guys
Yeah.
immediately.
Are they going to be undefeated? Are they going to be the best team in the country? No, not this year.
You sure about that? They need to start playing defense is what they need to do.
Well, and that's just it. Their offense, what was it, over 500 yards?
Yeah.
His son, who played defense, and by the way, is wearing 21, which,
yeah,
what kind
ballsy.
of balls does he have to wear that number? But he played very well and looked really good. So
no number ones on that team. He made that very clear.
Mm-hmm.
I pick who number one is.
Right.
Because if you're going to be number one, you better be number one. No zeros on that team.
No.
I mean, he set the tone early.
He's got a number.
He had his toes cut off and almost had his foot amputated because he said, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it now.
Right.
And he's still walking around the sideline.
And he is. And, he had to sit down because his leg was sore. I don't know whether it's a knee or whatever. But
it's his foot. He has circulation problems.
Okay. Well, I was impressed. That not only can his players play, Deion can coach. He's got the same passion for coaching, and you can tell he loves it.
Well, he's one of those guys like Magic Johnson where no matter what he goes into, he's going to find a way to win.
Right.
I mean, it's just his attitude. He doesn't know the word lose. Like he's going to win even when the odds are stacked against him. Because he wanted to get, a lot of people forget, he wanted to be the Florida State coach. He went to Florida State and said, I want to be your head coach. And they said no to him. And that's why he went to the HBCU school, Jackson State, right?
Yes, and probably a good idea, honestly. Could he have done what he did at Jackson State at Florida State? Yes, but I think there still would have been a little bit of a learning curve.
Right.
As good as Deion is.
It gave his son and Travis Hunter some time in college football. Because, I mean, no matter if it's lower ranked or not, it's still better talent than they faced in high school.
Right.
These are college football players, let's not forget. And so you can't dismiss that.
I think I agree with you. They're going to destroy Nebraska this Saturday. I'd be shocked if they didn't.
Well, you have their schedule, and you said they're going to lose some games here. So Nebraska and then Colorado State. I mean, those are both wins.
Right.
Then they face Oregon.
That could be their first loss.
And that'll be a test. Then they face USC. And I will be decked out in Colorado stuff.
That will be their
against
first
USC.
Loss. They will lose that game.
I don't know about that.
They will.
People are big believer in Caleb Williams. Talk about an attitude problem.
Well, we've talked about that.
I mean, I'm not a fan of that kid with what he was doing on his fingernails. It's just something disrespectful. And Lincoln Riley, how dare you as a coach allow a kid to act like that?
Well, let me ask you this. Would Deion have ever allowed that? We know the answer.
Come on.
We know the answer. He wouldn't have Caleb Williams on his team.
No, he would not. He just wouldn't. It wouldn't happen. And so, can you imagine if somebody on his team had that on his fingernails?
He wouldn't be playing.
He may have not known right away.
Oh, he'd be
off the team.
He would be off the field the second he sees that.
Just make no mistake, Deion Sanders is the leader of men. I don't think these wins and losses matter as much to him. He wants to win, but that's not necessarily what winning means.
What was the first thing he said in his first press conference? By being a part of this team, it means you're not a C student.
Right.
It means you're leading this whole university.
Right.
And the way you walk through this university is how I expect you to be on the field.
Right. Every one of you better be on the dean's list.
Yes.
That's the expectation.
That is the expectation because he is building guys very much like Lombardi, like Bobby Knight to a certain extent, but they are all going to
Coach
be.
K.
Yes, exactly. They're going to be successful outside of football because even if you don't play in the NFL, you're going to have the tools to be a good man and a good human and raise a great family.
Right. I mean, Coach K, don't forget, was the last coach to jump in on the one and done.
Sure.
Until he realized
no choice.
It's just what we got to do.
Right.
I mean, this is what we got to do to win. They have Arizona State. That'll be a win. Stanford, that'll be a win, which is something we also need to talk about. UCLA, Oregon State, Arizona, Washington State, and then Utah. They got 3 possible losses.
Yeah, they're going to, I think they lose to Utah. I think they lose to USC. Odds are they lose to Oregon.
So it's their first real test is Oregon.
Yes.
I mean, TCU, don't get me wrong. TCU was a big test.
It was a big test, but
they had all offseason to prep for that game.
Correct. Now they have to get ready for Nebraska is a bigger team, but I still think the talent that
Nebraska just lost to Minnesota.
And they're still riding high. Colorado's still riding high on the adrenaline from this last win.
Yep.
Nobody predicted them to win. They were a 2-touchdown dog in this
3. 21 points.
We should have had money on
it. Somebody made a lot of money.
Yes, they did.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they do coming off of that high from that big win, but Nebraska offensively is no match. for what Colorado can bring. And Dion also understands, okay, we won.
Okay.
So what?
Let me ask you this. And this is looking into the future. So we're getting out our little looking ball, our magic ball to check it.
Yep. Crystal ball. I don't know what they're called.
Thank you. Yep. Wow. 2 years from now.
Yeah.
His son goes. And because his son can go the end of this year, but he's not going to go.
So can Travis Hunter. And I think Travis Hunter does leave this year.
Travis Hunter has to come back.
Does he?
Today. Yeah. He can't go until the 25 draft.
Okay.
So he will be back. Those two go.
Yep.
Could be a number 1 and 2 pick.
Probably. I mean, they're both Heisman favorites right now.
Right now. But if they leave, does Dion take the next step and go to the NFL? Say Travis Hunter, for whatever reason, ends up, or his son ends up in Dallas.
Oh.
Would he follow him?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think he's going to be in Colorado for more than 5 years. Maybe even 3.
This was never a marriage meant for long term.
No.
Like, this was something where Colorado needed the attention and wanted to turn their program around.
And good for them. This is very similar to Donna Shalala in Wisconsin when they had the worst coach in the history of Division I football, Don Morton. Terrible record. Shalala came in and said, we're not doing this again. She went to Oscar Mayer and hired Pat Richter as the AD. First thing Pat did was go and hire Barry, and the rest is history.
Yeah, Wisconsin sports gets fixed with money. You pay Barry Alvarez as much more money than anybody else is willing to offer, and the Packers did the same thing with Reggie White.
Okay, what's your point?
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
it's tradition.
A tradition that's continued to this day.
Yeah, the Nebraska is going to have some trouble with Colorado. It's going to be interesting. But other big news that happened is the ACC. This makes no sense to me. The ACC just admitted in Stanford, Cal, and SMU.
And they did it for what will be a very short term, because I still think the ACC breaks up.
It could. It's just...
Or merges with the Big 12.
People talk about the travel when it comes to the Big 10. Like, there are no teams.
No, there's...
close to them. The closest team to them, I think, is North Carolina.
There's like 3,000 miles between Stanford and North Carolina.
Right, and Cal.
Yeah.
And then SMU's in Dallas.
It makes no sense. It's a short-term situation. I think they're positioning themselves. So if the ACC, what's left of them, because I still think it's going to be Clemson. I have changed. I will admit that. I originally thought it was Clemson, Florida State when that came out, in Miami. I now think it's going to be North Carolina, Clemson, and Florida State.
There was a while there I didn't think Duke would leave, or North Carolina would leave without Duke. But there was a big change that happened with the ACC voting, which is there were 3 teams that said no. They needed only 3 teams could say no to this. So there were 4 teams originally. Right. It was North Carolina, Clemson, Florida State, and North Carolina State that all said no to this originally, and they needed one of them to flip, and they got North Carolina State to flip. North Carolina, Florida State, and Clemson all said no to this.
To me, that says they're Big Ten bound at the end of the football season.
They were almost Big Ten bound at the beginning of this football season. Sure. And I think that shows those 3 teams are going, but that leaves 2 teams left in what is the Pac-12 right now. That leaves Washington State and Oregon State. I think the only ones left.
I think the Big 12 is going to merge with the Pac-12 or whatever they call it.
It's 2 teams. There's not even going to be a merge.
Okay. They'll absorb them, and they'll absorb the ACC, and they will be that third conference.
It makes sense. I mean, they're officially done. Like, you got 2 teams left. It could also be, honestly, I think it's going to be the Mountain West that they're going to end up with. Because if you look at Washington State and Oregon State, I mean, Oregon State's ranked right now as a decent team, so maybe the Big 12 would take them on. But historically, they haven't been great teams.
They may go, and it may be the Mountain West. You know, you get the San Diego States and what have you to make a conference out of it. But I really think there's going to be 3 powerhouse conferences in football. Big Ten, SEC, and the Big 12 is, and I give a lot of credit to the Big 12 commissioner because he held that thing together. and now is put in a position where it's going to survive and thrive probably.
I got to assume. Yeah, I mean, how could it not?
And by the way, if the ACC breaks up and if Clemson, Florida State, and North Carolina go, that's going to leave one opening. And you know what that's going to be?
It's Notre Dame's last chance.
The only chance. They've got to get into a conference. They cannot continue to be independent. Now with a 12-team playoff.
Right.
Just don't see it.
No, I can't imagine them bringing in Washington State. That was a conversation before. No. I think that's dead at this point. They're just not going to do it.
It depends on what Notre Dame does. If they are that arrogant, and they are
bringing Washington State.
No, but you'll grab another team. Maybe it'll be in Miami. I doubt it at this point because, as you've said, they don't have a stadium on campus and they're not building one anytime soon.
If they're not going to put a stadium on campus, it's never going to happen.
Yeah, and I'm not sure.
Never going to happen.
Not sure they have the land for that, but it's going to be interesting to see. So Ohio State won this weekend. Congratulations. Wasn't overly impressive.
Wasn't a great win.
No, it wasn't.
But that's Ryan Day with Ohio State. Like, we never look good week one. Ever.
New quarterback. Different.
New quarterback. I don't know if he's going to be the quarterback going forward. I'm not sure. It's still a pretty open competition right now.
But they're going to be okay. And then there was another new quarterback or a new coach that started in the Big Ten, close to my heart. Luke Fickell had his first game against Buffalo.
Man, did he not look like he belonged on that sideline?
Yes, he did. He looked perfect on that sideline. How dare you say that? I will tell you this. Wisconsin fans better change their gear real quick because
they just found a coach that looked like a champion.
This is a CEO of that football team. I've heard nothing but bitching. I've gotten stuff on Twitter. People have reached out to me and going, it was so loud at that stadium. They didn't huddle. We had no time to get into the game, and it was so loud we couldn't have a conversation with our neighbors. Well, you know what, folks? You're not supposed to be there to have a conversation with your neighbor. You're supposed to be there to be watching the game. And yes, it's going to be loud, and no, there's not going to be time because the air raid offense is predicated on no huddle.
Yep.
I gave them credit because Ches Malucci and Braylon Allen, who, by the way, looks like a man among boys. The guy is huge.
Yeah, he put on some muscle in the offseason. That strength program's working out for him, huh? Welcome to Ohio State football.
But Fickell came in and said, we will be in the weight room. And Braylon Allen said, I'm all in.
Yep.
And it showed. Yep. I mean, he had 140-some yards rushing, another 30 as Pat's catching, so he's almost at 180 yards combined. I just don't get the fans in Wisconsin. I mean,
people in Wisconsin don't like change. I mean, this is the first change they've made to the stadium in 25 years. I think I heard it was
first real change probably since Barry was there. I was excited by it. Did they look great? No, they didn't. But Longo, who was the offensive coordinator, he ran the ball in North Carolina.
Yeah, he'll run the ball. I mean, it's going to be the pass to open up the run versus the run to run some more.
I got to be honest with you, Tanner Mordecai, the quarterback they had, not impressive.
I mean, he's not there to be your quarterback long term.
No, Nick Evers from Oklahoma, I think, is sitting back there, and I think he'll be in before the year is out.
That's what they brought him in for. The problem is that the quarterback you have now, Mordecai. Speaking of
Amish names, yeah.
He knows how to run the air raid offense. That's what they ran at SMU, and so he's that bridge quarterback. I mean, that's what you have to have that while the rest of the team learns the offense.
This is not Fickell's players or recruiting class. He came in late. He got some transfers, but he didn't really have a chance to recruit. That's going to change. And if I'm a player from the 300-mile radius, and that goes almost to Columbus, by the way.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
You're not recruiting from Columbus.
I'm excited. Yeah. You want to bet?
Yeah.
Yes, he will get players from Ohio to Madison because they're going to like what they see.
No, he won't.
Yes, he will.
Yeah, yes, how'd that work out with the Boses?
Give it time. Give it time. I have faith in. Believe in Luke Fickell. He will.
I watched that game with you, because it was going on the same time as Ohio State, and I was flipping back and forth. And I'm telling you, Luke Fickell does not look like he belongs on a Wisconsin sideline. He just doesn't. Either does Tressel and either does Longo.
Okay, back up a minute. When you contrast it from a guy,
He looked like Ohio State.
When you had a guy last year in a sloppy T-shirt,
yeah,
and baggy pants, and now you got a guy button down, sharp Wisconsin vest with white T-shirt.
What did you say he was wearing?
A vest.
Yeah, welcome to Ohio State.
Yeah, I was very impressed. He is in charge of that. And by the way, he doesn't wear a headset for the most part.
Get a headset on. Different kind of headset. It's not the big one.
Yeah. So I mean, he's in charge, and he is the CEO of that organization. And
how's it feel?
I can't wait. I love it.
Yeah, feels pretty good, huh?
Yeah, it does. It's gonna feel even better when they beat Ohio State.
That's not going to happen.
Not this year.
It's not even going to be close. Ohio State always looks bad the first game of the year. They're starting to figure things out, especially with a new quarterback.
Wisconsin will be better by the time they play. I've said it to you earlier.
They'll be better. I mean, they're still a year away.
If they keep within 10 points of Ohio State,
it's
a win. I'll be happy with that.
I mean, I'm afraid to go to the game. We definitely have an opportunity to go. But the last time we went to an Ohio State game,
I saw no problem with that game.
I fell out of love with Terrell Pryor. And it was the end of Jim Tressel.
You guys got destroyed that. I mean, ran back the first kickoff for a touchdown, and it was downhill from there.
Yeah, plenty of chance to come back in that game. That last interception early in the fourth kind of ended it. They were making a comeback, and then Terrell Pryor threw it to the defensive player. I remember it well.
We should go and see it happen again.
Nah. I mean, I'll go. But yeah, you definitely have somebody. I mean, it's funny to hear Wisconsin fans talk about, because as an Ohio State fan, this is what I'm used to. Like this is what we do. We recruit big names. We build strong athletes that are going to be drafted in the first round, and we have a swagger. Wisconsin has not had that swagger, I don't think, ever. Like, they had a taste of it when it was Barry, but it's when you had Michigan going downhill a bit. Ohio State was definitely down at that point.
Look, Wisconsin, when Barry was there when the Ron Dayne years, they had a little bit of swagger. They've never had the swagger.
But it
never to that point where we're competing for a national championship. I never once thought we were competitive for that.
No, Barry was definitely a winner, and he had that look, but it was still different. Where Luke Fickell, I mean, especially with your coordinators on there.
I don't know how he got those guys. I mean, I'm thrilled he got them. It's a different game of poker that's being played up there now.
I'm going to have to, I mean, you basically have Ohio State 2.0 sitting in Madison right now, which means I've told you before, I have to, especially seeing Luke Fickell in a vest. Now, it wasn't a sweater vest, but it was a vest.
He's worn that vest before. It's kind of his uniform.
Well, of course it is.
And it's
because who did he learn from? Jim Tressel.
And he's got his son on the sideline.
Yeah, he does.
I'm
running
happy.
the defense. He did not wear a sweater vest.
No, he didn't.
Which I was disappointed.
He's not the head coach.
He's just got to do it when they play Ohio State. But I mean, it's good to see you guys. I mean, it's going to be interesting. Ryan Day may go to the NFL next year.
Harbaugh will be in the NFL, I think, next year.
So, I mean, they'll be calling Luke Fickell.
I don't think he goes after 1 year. I just don't.
I don't think he's that kind of guy.
I don't think so either.
No, this isn't a Lane Kiffin situation at Tennessee. He's not going to do that.
Luke Fickell, everything I've seen is there for one reason, and that is to get into the playoffs and compete for a championship, not just to get into the playoffs.
Right.
He wants to win.
Right.
And he thinks he can build that kind of a winner in Wisconsin.
And they're trying to turn it into the shoe. That's why people in Madison were complaining. Like, the shoe is loud.
Right.
They play loud music. The crowd gets loud throughout the whole time. And Wisconsin fans were definitely not used to it, because when that music stopped, they were quiet.
They were. It was like, what the hell's going on? Now, was it a little bit too loud? They've got a new sound system in there and a new DJ. I think they'll adjust it a little bit.
They will.
But
it was funny hearing on the radio. We have some local radio here, and he had me turn it on this morning. And it was very much, these people with this loud music need to get off my lawn.
There was a lot of that going on. I couldn't talk to the person next to me, and we paid a lot for these seats, and we should be able to hear.
We're season ticket holders since 1902.
Pretty much. And you're going to have to get rid of your season tickets, because that place is going to be loud from now on.
Jump around was a hard adjustment, and we just went to the bathroom when that happened. Welcome to winning football culture.
Yes,
This
because
is
it's
for the kids. This is for the students. This isn't for
well,
you.
they were even complaining about the no huddle. We had no
They're
chance to get
moving
into
too
the game.
fast. They need to
Ah.
slow it down. My brain doesn't work that fast anymore.
And they're going to have to get over that because I
Nah.
loved what I saw.
Luke Fickle will go back. You guys will hire another guy who runs the Veer, and
No. Oh, God, shut up. Don Morton is selling insurance someplace now. Yeah, funny thing was, he was a successful coach until he got to Wisconsin, and that killed him forever.
well, you can't win 6 games in your entire career as a coach in the Big Ten.
You can't run the Veer in a Big Ten. Not in 1989 or whatever.
It'll be good. They'll get better. They still got some losses coming. Ohio State looked
Sure.
really good. They look like a championship team. I'm expecting playoffs again this year
Michigan-
and a shot at the championship.
Michigan looked incredibly good
They did without Harbaugh.
without Harbaugh, but that didn't seem to matter.
That's another thing that bothers me too. This is off topic. We weren't going to talk about this today, but I don't really care. But Michigan, I hate the mightier than thou attitude with certain schools, where it's the NCAA didn't punish him
Right.
at all. They said we didn't find enough evidence, whatever, and then Michigan steps in and suspends their own coach for 4 games.
That just guaranteed that he's leaving at the end of the year.
Right? What are you doing? Like, we're better than you. I mean, it's the same attitude in Michigan. And it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, this is your own coach that you brought in. You were happy with the recruits he was bringing in. You were happy with being in the playoffs last year. And then,
I don't get it. I just don't. I think it's ridiculous.
I mean, that's not something Ohio State would do.
No,
But we're a winning program.
and it shouldn't happen if it ever happens in Wisconsin, which
No.
I hope it doesn't. But
You knew this was happening. You allowed it to happen.
Right.
And then when you got caught, you wanted to look like we're better than everybody else.
Jim Harbaugh is sitting back going to his agent, okay, let me know when the NFL starts to call.
Where do you think he goes?
Depends on, he could be in Dallas next year if they don't do well this year.
I can see Dallas.
He's going to have a lot of choices to make. Could be LA.
Tampa?
I could see Tampa, absolutely.
Which LA?
The Rams.
Yeah, they're not firing.
I'm saying he may step away.
He might. Seattle?
Depends on when Pete Carroll wants to hang it up. He's there until the end.
Minnesota? If they fall
Arizona?
apart?
Arizona.
No, they just hired a new coach.
Well, yeah, and they're not going to win a game this year.
Well, that's not the coach's fault, though.
I could see Minnesota.
Raiders in Vegas?
I could see that too. No, I can't because McDaniel has got there. I'll give him some time.
San Francisco's set. He won't go back there.
No, I think Minnesota's probably the most likely.
I think if they tank, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see, and I think Ryan Day is going to have opportunities as well.
He could. He's got it real good at Ohio State, though, because, Ohio State knows what championship football is.
One more thing on Wisconsin football, and then we'll move on to the NFL. If that's where you want to move on to.
I like hearing that.
Wisconsin, I've heard some fans saying, well, they should be a 9 or 10 win team. They're going to have at least 4 losses this year.
Yeah. I mean, they're still not a good team. They could lose to Washington State next week.
They could. I don't think so. I think they'll beat them. But they're
going to lose to Ohio State.
going to lose to Ohio
And they're
State.
going to, I'm not trying to be an Ohio State homer. I am. Don't get me wrong. I'm an Ohio State homer through and through. I'm not even pretending that I'm not.
We know that.
But Wisconsin they're not going to even look competitive against Ohio State.
That's why I said if they can stay within 10, it's a win.
Right. It's in Madison. Madison's a pit. It's loud. I understand that. I've been to games, and I've been there when Ohio State lost the number 1 ranked team.
And Fickle's going to be having his players up for that game.
Oh, for sure. It's circled on the calendar.
No, absolutely.
It definitely is. And that's going to be a fun rivalry, I think, going forward. But this year is it's not even going to be close.
No, because I think you're still playing basically with crisp players. They only had a short time to put in the weight program to get these guys stronger.
Right.
He hasn't even had his own recruiting class. Now, he's done great with the transfer portal.
Yeah.
He's gotten some commitments for next year, but that's not going
it's
to help
next
him
year.
this season.
You're playing for next year.
Yes.
I mean, I heard some Wisconsin fans talking about, well, we're excited for when Ohio State comes to town. That's going to be a real turning point for the program. And listen, it could. Anybody can win any given night.
Sure.
But Ryan Day is also having that game circled on his calendar. Like, this isn't a one-way Fickle's got it up his butt for Ohio State.
No.
Ryan Day also understands that he got the job over Luke Fickle and is not going to lose to Luke Fickle.
Probably for Ryan Day, the second biggest game other than Michigan this year.
Correct.
I mean,
he has to beat Michigan this year.
He's got to beat Michigan. And I think he needs to put his thumb down on Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I mean, he really...
put them in their place. Put them where they belong, which is middle of the pack of the Big Ten, if not the bottom of the pack, and make sure they know where they stand.
I would be happy with 6 or 7 wins this season and get a small bowl. I mean, that's been a good year then.
Yeah.
You know, and then let's see what happens next year and the year after that.
And Ohio State again puts them in their place.
No.
Because Wisconsin is a little school that's trying to act all big and mighty.
And we have the coach to do it.
And you need to put them where they belong. And now it is time for the NFL. The NFL season officially starts on Thursday with Kansas City and Detroit. Before we get on to that, don't wear sweatshirts under a lot of studio lights. It gets real hot real fast, but I'm going to tough through this one. But the NFL does start in what should be a good game.
Should be. Now, like, Kelsey used to get hurt.
He'll still play, though.
Hyperextended knee?
He could.
He's going to be questionable. He won't play it the whole game.
Probably not. He'll be on a pitch count.
It's going to be a real...
Well, Chris Jones isn't there, which why they haven't signed him. I mean, this guy reportedly is only asking for top 5 money. Like, he is the best defensive lineman, if not the best defensive player in the league right now.
It'll get done. This is going to be a key game for
He's
Detroit.
still not playing week 1.
No, he's not playing week 1, but he'll get in, and I don't think Andy Reid's worried about it. I think Detroit is worried about this game because this will be a real key because they've got high expectations this year. We'll get into it when we get to the NFL or NFC rather. But if they look awful,
they got to be competitive in this game. They don't have to win it, but they have to look competitive. If they're not, then they're just the Detroit Lions that we've all known and loved for a long time, which would be exciting for me because that makes it easier for my Green Bay Packers. You don't believe in Jordan Love, so they can't be your Green Bay Packers right now. But we're going to get that because we've done this before, but I think it's important to do it again now that we know this is where our real picks come in. The preseason is over. We know where the teams stand. The season is just about to start. And so I want to go through and I want to pick our division winners, starting with the AFC out east. The AFC East. Who do you got?
Okay. So I'm assuming that Tua's not going to be injured this year. I know it's a stretch, but I'm going to assume he's going to play.
Yep.
So I've got, and it's tough to do this because it's a good division, but I have to pick somebody for 4th, and I'm going to put the Patriots 4th. I'm going to put the Bills because I've said it before, and I still think it's the case. They're going to take a step back. They'll finish 3rd, close to the playoffs, but just miss. I've got the Jets finishing 2nd, and I've got the Dolphins winning the division. I think they've got a better roster than the Jets.
They have no running game, and their defense is questionable.
I think they'll address it, and I think the Dolphins are going to eke this thing out, and they're going to win.
This is where I completely disagree with you. I have the Dolphins finishing dead last. I don't think Tua is going to make it a whole season. I really don't. I think their running game is going to hurt them, which is going to put more pressure on Tua to run, which with his head the way it is, hopefully he's overcome that. I want him to be a superstar in this league because he has the talent.
And I'm hoping he will.
Sometimes that happens where you get hurt. That's sports. And I think they're going to finish dead last this year. I got the Bills finishing 3rd because I think they're going to regress. I think Stephon Diggs is going to be demanding a trade halfway through this season. It reminds me of the Packers when they started to fall. They got too high, and then they started to regress, and it was a steep drop, which ended the Mike McCarthy era. I see the Bills looking exactly the same. I got the Patriots sneaking into the playoffs at 2nd, and the Jets not only winning the division, but being the number 1 overall seed in the AFC.
I mean, Rodgers with a chip on his shoulder is the most dangerous player.
Have you seen him on Hard Knocks?
Yes, I have.
Barking at people?
Yep.
I sent you that clip, right? He's barking at people. He is looking like the Rodgers I fell in love with.
He's engaged.
He is very engaged. He is going to make this work if he has to force it.
I could absolutely see the Jets win the division. I just have a gut feeling that Miami's going to do it. So
listen, and if I'm a Jets fan, I'm pretty excited because you're not looking at the same Zach Wilson you looked at last year. He's a very different kid with Rodgers right behind
Sure.
him. And if Rodgers gets hurt, I don't think you're in as bad of a position as you were last year. Now, he won't be hurt. That is my Super Bowl team, is the New York Jets. They will win it all.
Not this year.
Yes, they will. On to the AFC North, which is an extremely hard division to pick. I changed my mind on this one, but I'm going to let you go first here.
You are. Okay. All right. I've got Cleveland finishing 4th. And this is a tough one. I've got the Ravens in 3rd.
Wow.
They're a great team, but this is a tough division.
Yeah.
I've got the Bengals finishing 2nd. I think they're going to lose games early until Burrow comes back. And I've got the Steelers winning the division because they are a stacked team.
Well, you and I have almost the exact same list here. I got the Browns finishing last. I think the Deshaun Watson experiment is going to fail. I think at the end of last year, the thing is with Deshaun Watson is if he was going to turn into what he had become before, you would have started to see that progression at the end of last year.
And you
just didn't.
No.
You didn't. He was still bad at the end of last year. So to think that him not getting better last year and then all of a sudden he's going to be what he was this year, I think is a pipe dream. It's just not going to happen. As much as this kills me here, and it's only because I think Lamar Jackson is going to have another MVP-like season this year, and with Odell Beckham being there, that wide receiver group looking better, I think Zay Flowers is going to be possibly the rookie of the year this year. He's going to have that type of year.
Good.
And that defense under Jim Harbaugh is always good.
John Harbaugh.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Not yet.
And here's why it's football Jesus, right? He really is.
But he's hurt.
And I think the issue is they're going to lose a lot of games before he comes back. And I don't think they're going to be able to make it up. I think it's going to take a beat or two for him to get back into action after that injury, because I don't think he's coming back till week 6. Look, you're going to need 10 to 12 wins to really compete in this division.
I could absolutely. If Burrow is out for any kind of extended period, and I'm talking like 8-9 weeks in,
which he could be.
He could be. Then I think you're right. I think Baltimore then finishes ahead of them.
I'm going on that premise right now. So I have the Bengals finishing 3rd. I have the Ravens finishing 2nd. And I too have the Steelers winning this division.
I think they're the best team in the AFC right now.
Listen, we said it before. We did an episode, and you can look back at it if you want. It's a really good episode that I think we need to redo here. But right before we started the show, right before that draft where Kenny Pickett was drafted, and we did a show. You have 8.5-inch hands as well, same as Kenny Pickett. And we had a show where you held a college football versus an NFL football, and you had no grip on that ball. Granted, your hands are old and arthritic,
right?
And so it's a little bit different.
But there's a reason he wears a glove.
Now he's whipping it around. George Pickens is going to take that next step. And I loved him since he was drafted out of Georgia, and he's going to take that next step. Najee Harris, I believe, is going to take that next step as a great runner in this league. And you got TJ Watt back on defense, and that defense is really going to settle down. And I just think that they're going to win that division. I think you could have 3 teams out of this division make the playoffs. I don't think you will.
You could, though.
But you could.
Because there's that extra team this year.
Right. It'll be interesting to see. AFC South, I'll take this one here.
All right, go ahead.
CJ Stroud, as much as I love him, the Texans apparently do not understand what it means to learn from your past. They are going to give CJ Stroud, and already are giving CJ Stroud the David Carr treatment. He's going to be sacked 70 times this year, and that's a fact. It wasn't a mistake. I just misspoke. Leave me alone. But he's going to get his ass kicked this year. He just really is. I mean, and it sucks because CJ Stroud, number 2 overall pick, should be great in this league. I don't think the Texans are going to allow it to happen. I just don't understand teams. Build your offensive line first so your quarterback doesn't get killed.
They shouldn't have taken the guy they took number 2. They should have gotten him an offensive lineman.
They should have number 3.
Number 3.
Yeah,
one
on defense. I don't mind that pick, but let David Mills start. He's not your quarterback. I hate to say this, or get a veteran that you can put out there to get killed. Bring in any number of veterans that are out there to get killed, and so CJ Stroud has a chance to succeed in this league. But they're going to finish last because they don't have a good roster. The Indianapolis Colts, I've said it and I'll say it again, Anthony Richardson is going to be a star in this league. He is 6'4", 240 pounds. He has a cannon in this, but what makes him different is his accuracy isn't great right now.
Not right now.
It wasn't great in college. It's not great now. But he reminds me a lot of Michael Vick. He really does. That's the best compliment I can give him. Michael Vick, without the whole arrest thing, would have been a Hall of Famer in this league.
Michael
and he got better as he went on.
He turned himself into a pocket passer as he went on.
He did,
ran
which
a
he
lot.
had to do.
Right.
And he became more accurate. When he was with the Eagles, that was a different quarterback, the way he was able to reinvent himself. And if I'm the Colts, I am calling Michael Vick and saying, come and work with this guy. Like, please come and work with him.
I'm sure he would.
In 2 seconds, why wouldn't you? I mean, come on. That's one of the greatest athletes of all time. But I see a lot in him, and so I think he's going to get better in the next 2 or 3 years when they continue to work with him, and he's going to become a really good quarterback, but it's not going to be this year, especially with Jonathan Taylor happening the way it is.
He's going to be traded before the deadline.
Yeah, Tennessee Titans are going to be in second. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think only one playoff team comes out of this division, and the Jaguars are a 12 team. I mean, they're going to run away with this division.
Well, and we don't really need to talk about too much because I got the exact same.
Do you?
Yeah, team for team. Jacksonville is the elite of not only this division, but they're right up there in the AFC. The Colts are going to trade Jonathan Taylor before the deadline to Miami, Green Bay, or another team that comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, don't count out the Bears. The Bears have a lot of draft capital, and they could easily make a move if they're competing.
We'll see. AFC West.
You first.
Oh, God. Did I blow that last year when I took Denver? Okay.
You going to take them again?
No, I'm not. I think the Raiders are going to finish fourth just because this may be the best division of football.
You could get 4 teams in the playoffs out of this division.
You could. I don't think Garoppolo is going to last all year. If they're winning and he gets hurt, I stand by the fact I think Brady comes in and closes it out.
He could.
Then I think there's Denver. I am not buying in year one. I'm just not. Chargers finished number 2. Chiefs finished number 1, but the Chiefs are going to take a step back. They are not going to be as good as this year.
I think they're still in the middle of a dynasty. I have the Chiefs number 1. I think that they have this year still. I do. They're still there. They're fresh off a Super Bowl. Mahomes is just getting better, which is hard to believe, by the way. Like, how does he keep getting better?
Because he was so young, and Andy Reid has driven him to greatness, and he's wanted to get there.
He does. Great attitude. He knew what he was walking into. His dad was a professional athlete.
It's the old Vince Lombardi thing. He is chasing perfection, but while he'll never attain it, he's getting excellence along the way.
Yeah, in the pursuit of perfection, we shall achieve excellence. One of the greatest quotes of all time. And Patrick Mahomes definitely lives that. This is hard for me because I've changed this a lot of times. But I've changed this while you and I have been talking about this. Oof. The Kansas City Chiefs are definitely finishing first. That is going to happen.
We are going from the bottom up.
I know. I believe in Jimmy G because all he does is win.
Sure.
All he does is win, no matter what.
Devontae Adams is going to be a happy guy this year.
He is.
It was hard.
Is he going to stay healthy is the question. He's already hurt. Can he get more hurt? I don't think he can. Listen, I got the Broncos finishing last. I really do.
I can see that.
I don't think that Russell Wilson's going to take that next step. Russell Wilson's a weird guy. He really, really is.
He's either going to...
You said it best when you said he's always chasing the next best thing.
Yeah.
Always.
Bigger,
he was like that
deal.
In Wisconsin.
He was.
Bigger, better deal. Thank you. And
term I know very well.
Yeah, right. I've seen your dating history.
Yeah.
We'll save that for another show.
Thank you so much.
Listen, you dated the redheaded devil, not me.
Anyways, go on.
Anyway, I don't think he's going to take that next step. I don't know how the roster is. Their receivers are already getting hurt.
Right.
And how good are they, honestly? We haven't really seen them perform yet. We just assume they're good from what they should be. Sean Payton has to really turn around that roster, and I think it's going to be a rough season. Now, I think they're still going to win 8-9 games. Mm-hmm. But in this division, I think that's good enough for last. I do have the Raiders finishing third, but I do believe they get into the playoffs doing that.
No argument.
I have the Los Angeles Chargers losing the division by a game on the last day. I think they're going to really turn it around. And I changed my mind because when you and I first did this, I did not pick the Chargers.
No,
I
you
picked the
didn't.
Chargers last. Honestly, I really did. But I changed my mind on Russell Wilson. And I'm going to change this, by the way, several times.
Yeah.
So I'm not putting a stamp on this. If I have to, I will. But I'm going to change the AFC West. I'm going to say I was right no matter what, because I could really put this in any order.
Okay, you've got to pick something here.
I am picking. I'm saying the Chargers finish second, the Chiefs finish first. But the Chargers, Justin Herbert just got paid, and he's going to be good this year. The only issue I have with the Chargers, and this is where they could end up being really bad, is Eckler is definitely on the last phase of his career. He really is. He's coming to some injuries. Their receivers are really old, and they haven't. I mean, I'm 34 now, so, I'm old.
Yeah.
So it's hard saying that. So this is for NFL, and shut up. I don't want to hear anymore. He gave me so much crap for turning 34, and I hate him. I'm officially past my physical prime, I understand. But so are these receivers. And that's where we are. I see your wheels turning. Stop it.
I'm not saying a word.
But they're getting older, and they really haven't replaced these wide receivers, and so who is Herbert really going to throw to? And with Eckler, he's not that same roll out of the backfield type of guy, but I do think they're going to find a way this year. But if they don't replace, they need their older players to really step up in a way that is going to be interesting to see if they can. And then next year, they have to replace all of them. They really, really do.
I think they will, but I think they're going to be good this year. And
yeah, I got the Chargers finishing second, the Chiefs finishing first. But I could easily put the Chargers last. And I did the first time we did this. I had the Chargers in last place, and I could easily see that happening. On to the NFC. We're going to save the North for last. We are NFC North fans, so we're going to save it for last. But let's start with the NFC East. The division you said was going to be the worst division in football last year. I mean, I did too, but we don't have that on film. We just have you saying it.
And you've kept it, and you keep reminding me of it. I was surprised by the Giants last year.
Yeah.
They ended up being better than advertised.
Yeah, Daniel Jones stepped up.
Right.
And Saquon Barkley should have won Comeback Player of the Year.
Absolutely.
The fact that Geno Smith won it, he came back from being benched. The fact that he won it is a joke. Saquon Barkley should have won that.
He should have. I think they're going to take another little step forward this year. So I think the Commanders could be a surprisingly good team.
I'm a believer in Sam Howell. When he was drafted, we had a show back then, and I said I thought Sam Howell was a top 15 pick. And he ends up falling to what, the 5th round?
Something like that. I mean, he could be. Ron Rivera is a great coach.
He is.
But I'm still going to put him.
Well, and you have Eric Bieniemy as the offensive coordinator.
You do. I think they're going to finish in 4th. And it's hard for me to say that.
The Commanders?
The Commanders.
I love that you're calling them the Commanders.
I'm not. They're going to be another team shortly. They'll be back, hopefully back to the Redskins. Anyways, the Cowboys losing Kellen Moore is going to be a bigger deal.
I don't think so.
Bigger deal than,
I think they're going to be better this year because of it.
No, I don't think so. I think the Giants finished 3rd, but in the playoffs. Cowboys 2nd. Eagles, even though they've had some losses, are still a class of that division, and I think they're going to win. And I do think the Cowboys, this is a make or break year. Either they get there or McCarthy's fired and Dak Prescott is gone and he'll bring somebody new in.
Yeah, you mentioned Deion Sanders. It'd be an interesting one.
I don't think he's ready for it.
Oh, Jerry Jones would love it.
Oh, I know he would, but not after year 1 in Colorado.
That's fair.
He's going to finish, especially with his son coming back.
I mean, I could see McCarthy even winning a Super Bowl and riding off into the sunset, honestly.
I would love to see that. I'd love to see McCarthy win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs. He will be in the playoffs, and if they win, I'll be cheering for Mike McCarthy.
Yeah. Yeah, Washington football team's definitely going to finish last this year, but not because they're going to be a bad team. They're going to be a better team. The Giants could also easily finish last this year. I think they could easily regress, but Saquon Barkley is such a good player. He is the heart and soul of that offense, and he's going to be on a mission this year. He's going to have the best year of his career and get paid and then get hurt because that's what happens, unless you're Aaron Jones. But I think they're going to finish in 3rd. I think it's going to be tightly contested. I don't think there will be 3 teams in the playoffs out of this. I think the Giants and the Commanders miss the playoffs this year. I think the Philadelphia Eagles end up with a wild card this year, and the Dallas Cowboys win the division. I love Mike McCarthy's play calling. Look how good it was. It's up to Dak Prescott if he can handle it.
Right.
It really is.
And that's why I didn't have him winning.
Tony Pollard's hurt, and that could stop them from winning the division. But if Tony Pollard comes back and their other that guy, that 5'5" running back they drafted, that's the kid's son.
Yeah.
He's looked great.
Yes.
And he'll be a Mighty Mouse threat coming out of the back.
And I'll make this prediction.
And you have Micah Parsons.
Yeah. And I'll make this prediction before the year is out. Mason Crosby is a Dallas Cowboys kicker.
Oh, for sure. That's going to happen.
I think that's absolutely
He's still kicking. He's not going to hit over 55 yards. He's barely going to make 50-yard field goals. But he'll make every
45-yarder they get to.
Every single one. He's one of the most accurate kickers in football history. They still have that push, which is going to win them a lot of fourth down conversions. I want them to get rid of that. I don't think it's fair. I don't like it in college. I don't like it at all. I think it's cheating.
Buffalo.
You're taking some steps back. I think they're going to have a really good year, but that's just how good I think Dallas is going to be. I think Dak has and the reason I say this is because I believe in Dak Prescott.
Okay.
If Dak isn't there, listen, Mike McCarthy's a championship coach.
He is.
Mike McCarthy won a lot of games. The only reason they got destroyed is because everybody was so shaken by that Seattle loss in the playoffs. It ruined everything.
Tell me about it.
That was the regression. Rodgers became this psychedelic person, and it just didn't gel anymore. But I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to win the division. I could regret that. Dallas Cowboys could finish third in this division. They could finish last.
I don't think they'll finish last, but I can see them finishing.
But I think they're going to win the division in this one.
Okay.
NFC South, I go first now, right?
Please, because I got nothing.
Man, the Carolina Panthers are going to finish last. That's an easy one. Yeah. They don't have a good offensive line. Bryce Young's going to get killed. He can end up being a good quarterback in this league. I don't know. But he's short and small. And I've said it before. I wouldn't have drafted him number 1 overall. I think he's going to be a head coach in this league. He seems like a very intelligent guy, and I like him as a person. But to go from somebody like Cam Newton to somebody like Bryce Young is a big, big difference in size. Yes. And they don't have the offensive line to protect him. This is not like Drew Brees, who had a great offensive line protecting him at all times.
Right. We saw that in the preseason already.
Right.
He's taking heat.
He is. He's got the right attitude. I think he's going to do fine, but they're definitely going to be in last place. They're going to be a top 5 pick next year. This is where a lot of things could happen. I like the Falcons. I like Ritter a lot.
I do too.
I really do. Kyle Pitts their tight end needs to take a step up this year. I like their coach a lot. I like his mustache a lot. He looks like he should be in a special 1970 film, but we'll leave that to the imagination. Carr's looked really good, but Derek Carr is Derek Carr. He chokes. I still think Jameis Winston's going to end up playing some games for them, and I think that Baker Mayfield is going to have a Pro Bowl year. So the question comes into place. I think the Saints are going to finish third.
Okay.
I do.
That took a long time to get there.
Listen, I take a while, but leave everybody satisfied. That's just how I roll. So on to... It's a question between the Falcons and the Buccaneers. It really is. And it depends if the Buccaneers trade Mike Evans. Because there's a lot of rumor Mike Evans could be traded this season. If that's the case, I think that it's going to be the Falcons. But I think the Falcons are still a year away. I think Bijan Robinson is going to win Rookie of the Year. I think he's going to have a great year. I think the Falcons are going to look really, really good and possibly get into the playoffs this year. But I think the Buccaneers are really going to look special and win this division.
Okay. Panthers finished 4th. Saints finished 3rd. Buccaneers, because I don't have faith in Baker Mayfield, finished 2nd. And the Falcons win the division. And I think Bijan Robinson is going to be the Rookie of the Year. And I think he's going to will that team to the playoffs.
It's possible. I think a lot depends on Kyle Pitts' development as a tight end. I really do.
It does.
Because they got rid of Calvin Ridley, right? And he's going to have a monster year in Jacksonville, which means a lot is going to rely on Kyle Pitts really turning the corner. And if he doesn't this year, he's being cut. You need a new tight end at that point.
Right. It's going to be interesting to see, but would I be surprised if Falcons finish 2nd? No, but I think they're going to win. Okay.
On to the NFC West. I go first on this one, right?
You do.
I mean, Arizona Cardinals are going to be the number 1 overall.
That's the easiest pick we've had all day.
They're tanking beyond tanking. The interesting thing, and I heard this on the Pat McAfee show, Lombardi talked about it. What's his first name?
Greg Lombardi.
Yeah, he was talking about it and was talking about the injury where if Kyler Murray gets injured, his contract is guaranteed, $56 million guaranteed.
He's going to get injured.
Right. And so he may not play him at all this year. If you're really not moving on with Kyler Murray, don't play him.
Don't let him get that contract.
Which means you have a rookie, I can't even remember his name, starting this, and then you have Dobbs who will take over at some point because you got rid of Colt McCoy.
Right.
Which, there you go, Texans. Start Colt McCoy instead of C.J. Stroud. But they're going to be bad.
They're going to be
real bad, and they're going to take years to recover.
Detroit Lions of their own 16 years.
This is going to be a bad team.
Who do you have third?
This is where it gets interesting because I have a lot more faith in the Rams than a lot of people do. I have Seattle finishing third. I think they're going to regress. I do. I have the Rams finishing second, probably missing the playoffs, but they'll be right there. And then the Niners are going to win this division, especially with Purdy being back. And Sam Darnold's a better quarterback than people give him credit for.
I think Darnold can take them to the playoffs. I think Purdy can take them to the playoffs. Either way.
They need Bosa, though. Bosa's still not there. They need Bosa to come back.
They will, but they are so loaded, they're going to be fine. And it's my pick, so just sit there. Cardinals are going to finish fourth.
Yeah.
I think the Rams are finishing third.
That's fair.
Seattle finishes second. Probably won't make the playoffs, but I could see them doing it. Because I agree with you. I think Geno, unless Pete Carroll is just a miracle worker again, takes a step back, and the 49ers are the class of the division. So they win.
The 49ers are not the same without Nick Bosa.
They're not.
I'm sorry. They're not. And they're going to have a rough time without him.
They've got enough talent there that I still think they win that division.
Well, here's the thing with the Rams, too. You have Stafford there, but you also have Stetson Bennett, who won 2 national championships and who looked really good. I know it was the 2s and 3s and 4s, but he looked really good this preseason and could win some games for them. They have some talent there, and you have one of the greatest coaches in NFL right now.
Sean Clifford looked really good against the 2s and 3s in Green Bay, too.
He did, but we already have a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's already there.
We did.
Which leaves us to the NFC North, and you get to go first.
I get to go first. Hate saying this.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Packers finish fourth. Bears finish third. The Queens finish second. Lions win the division. And I could see Chicago beating the Vikings for second, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Vikings are still a good enough all-around team to finish second.
Is it my turn?
If you pick the Packers to win the division, you are the homer's homer.
Is it my turn?
Go ahead.
Last place is Chicago Bears.
Okay.
They're going to be a lot better this year.
They are.
I think the teams in this division are going to win a lot more games. I think it's a better division than people realize.
Go on.
Bears are finishing last.
Go on.
But they'll be better. Justin Fields will be a lot better this year. But DJ Moore hasn't been great his entire career. This is like when the Bears brought in Allen Robinson, expecting him to be something that he wasn't. I think DJ Moore's in that same category.
Bears did help their offensive line.
They don't have a good running back, though.
They don't.
Well, that we know of. We've never seen him before. You have
true.
no idea what he is. And the defense is going to be that same defense. It's not going to be the Monsters of Midway.
No.
And so they're going to finish in fourth.
Okay.
They'll be a top 10 pick, but not number 1 this year.
Go on.
In third place, I have the Detroit Lions.
Oh, come on.
The Lions are the Lions, and they're going to be the Lions. They could still make the playoffs. They're already dealing with injuries.
They're going to win the division.
They could. But this is my list.
Yeah, I know.
Not yours.
And it's wrong, but go ahead.
They could still make the playoffs. They're already dealing with injuries. I think they're going to miss Jameson Williams more than they realize. I know they haven't had him yet, but I think they're going to miss a lot. If Goff gets hurt, they're toast. I don't think Goff is going to take a step back. I don't know if that defense is up to the caliber that they need to be.
Oh, I do. They've got a great defense.
We'll see. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson's going to be great, but you still need good corners. I mean, they did draft a really good rookie safety.
They did.
Which is going to make a big difference, but it depends a lot on Gibbs, too, on what he's going to do. And there's just a lot of question marks on that team, and the Lions are the Lions.
Okay. Go on.
In second place will be a quarterback that I think will be a Hall of Famer. Now, hasn't won a Super Bowl yet. He's been in this league a long time, but he hasn't won a Super Bowl yet. He hasn't won an MVP yet, but I think he's on his way to doing it and will end up in the Hall of Fame. They have a good running back. They have a decent defense. And I think they're going to win a lot more games than people give them credit for. Green Bay Packers are going to finish second and make the playoffs this year.
Where's the Kool-Aid?
I didn't pick them to win the division. The Vikings are the class of the division. Kirk Cousins is going to have an MVP season. I said that.
You've said
and
that.
I stick by it.
Okay.
Madison's going to be a question mark. Can he do what Dalvin Cook did? That defense is really a question mark for the Minnesota Vikings, but they have a good offense and good receivers on this team. Justin Jefferson is going to be an all-pro again this year. And Kirk Cousins, I think, is going to take that next step. Now, they're going to choke in the playoffs because they're the Vikings, and they deserve to because they're the Minnesota Vikings.
Right.
Nothing personal, Vikings fans, but this is personal. But the Packers are going to be a lot better. I do think Jordan Love is going to be everything. Now, we won't know till week 1 against the Bears. We will know a lot week 1 against the Bears. That is when we learn who is Jordan Love. It's in Chicago in a tough atmosphere. I have friends that are Bears fans. I have friends that are Lions fans. I don't have friends that are Vikings fans because I have higher standards for my friends than that. But listen, you gotta set your bar someplace. Wow. But I do, and the big thing they're saying right now.
The audience we had in Minnesota is gone.
I picked your quarterback to be the MVP. Listen, I picked your team to win the division.
Go on.
But I have standards in my personal life, okay? Anyway, I've talked to the Lions fans and the Bears fans, and they're sitting there nervous as can be. I was talking to my friend Matt, who's a big Lions fan, and he says week 1 will tell you if I care about football for the next 18 years. And I was like, I thought he was talking about the Chiefs and the Lions. He says, no matter what happens, they could get blown out. I don't care. If Jordan Love is a Hall of Fame quarterback again, and I have to deal with another Hall of Fame quarterback in Green Bay, I quit watching football. And I laughed about it because a guy who I was with next to him is a Cardinals fan, and I was teasing him earlier because the Cardinals always win, and I'm a Cubs fan, and so I'm used to that. And I looked right at him. I said, this is what it must feel like to be a Cardinals fan versus a Cubs fan, because I feel the same way about your team. But it is and the same with the Bears. If the Bears lose to Jordan Love and he puts up 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, I mean, you just got to, I'll be ecstatic and laugh. But as a Bears or Lions or Vikings fans, you got to be looking at that going, you have to be kidding me right now.
If Jordan Love ends up being the next great Packer quarterback, and he's not going to be, I don't see him being a Hall of Fame quarterback. I'd like to see it, but I don't see it.
Not yet, but we didn't see that in Rodgers right away. We knew he was going to be good.
No, we knew he was going to be great.
Yeah, but not to the level he was.
If Jordan Love is and I'm going to pull up Packer quarterbacks from the past now. If he's a Lynn Dickey, especially if he's a Don Majkowski, who is a very good, he led the league in passing.
Last Packer
to do it. He was a really good quarterback. I would be happy with that. I want him to be great, or I want him to be shit.
I've been saying that forever.
Not in between.
You can't do Derek Carr. Can't have a quarterback that's okay.
No, I don't even want a Jimmy G.
No, I'm with you. He has to be great, or he has to be basement.
Lousy. Yeah.
There's no in between.
And we will know early.
We're gonna know early. We are. But I think the Packers are going to win a lot of games this year. You have a duo of running backs that are the best in the league. You have a chance to trade for Jonathan Taylor, and if they do that, man, that's beautiful. A defense that should be great.
Should be great. They've been drafting for the defense for the last 10 years.
Looks good. Every player stepped up.
Does.
Run man to man, Barry. Run man to man defense. Stack the box.
Why would you hope for something that's never going to happen?
I'm tired of zone. Zone doesn't work. With slot receivers today, it doesn't work. Don't run zone. Stop it. We'll lose every game if we run zone. It's going to be a good team. It really is. Everything's in place. It all relies on the quarterback.
We're going to know.
Jordan Love is going to show the world Sunday at 3:25 Central that we just found ourselves a football player.
Okay.
We just found ourselves a quarterback.
We're going to find sunshine. We're gonna find out if LaFleur is really a good coach.
Yeah.
And we're gonna find
I think
out.
he is.
I think we'll find out.
We learned Aaron Rodgers definitely called the plays beforehand.
Yes, he did. We learned that Aaron Rodgers was a good offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see.
The Packers are now finishing fourth.
Okay.
They might win the division.
Not
They
happening.
might be the number one overall seed in the NFC.
Right. Look, it's a weak NFC. I mean, the bar is about as low as I've ever seen it for quarterbacking in the NFC.
Pretty bad.
It is.
Yeah,
It
they
is.
all went to the AFC.
Mr. Irrelevant is considered one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC.
Yeah, I said it was bad.
Yeah.
Pretty awful. It's very different than what it was when Rodgers was there. Because then you had Stafford, you had Rodgers, you had
Not much more.
Brady for a while there.
For a while.
You had some good quarterbacks. I'm blanking right now.
You had Jared Goff, you had Jimmy G, you had, like you said, you had Brady, Dak Prescott's always.
You had some good quarterbacks.
And Dak Prescott has got to step up this year. I hope he does.
He does. I have him winning the division. That's our picks. You let us know what you think in the comments below. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. But as always, you can never have a conversation with your father without your dad getting the last word. So it is all you.
So it was a very big weekend at the Kearney family ranch because it was Kyle's 34th birthday. September 2nd, 1989. He was born. Your grandpa looked at him, said he's a keeper. And one of the two best days of my life were when you and your brother were born, and then when I adopted your sister. All great days. But you have made my life nothing but better. From the day you were born till now, I've been proud of you. And I'm going to quit while I'm ahead because I get choked up when I do this. But thank you for all the joy you brought into my life. And make sure I tell him I love him all the time. If you don't tell your kids you love them, you should. But thank you for the blessing. You're the driving force behind getting this show going. We're up over 64,000 subscribers. So I guess that's probably the best birthday present I can give you.
It's a good present.
It's a good present.
It's very kind.
I'm just hoping we don't get to 100.
We need to do it before January 1st so you
I
can
know.
get that tattoo.
Oh,
But thank you very much. I
I hope you
appreciate
had
it.
I hope you had a happy birthday. I know you went to the Dells with the kids.
It was good. There's a zoo there. Did not know that.
In the Dells?
There's a zoo. Very nice zoo, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Where?
You know where none of our audience can know this, but you know where Riverview used to be?
Yeah, down by the waterfall.
Yeah, they bought all that land.
Nice.
It's all a zoo now. And I thought I was going to go there and feel really bad for animals and didn't.
Cool. Well,
We got to pet kangaroos, which I didn't know you could do. They were small. I thought they were wallabies. They're not wallabies, though. They're definitely
okay.
they're small.
Whatever it would
They
plug
have
me
very
up.
soft fur.
They make great catcher's mitts.
They do. They do. They do. Did you know that? Do you know what the most invasive species in Australia is?
Kangaroo?
No.
Oh.
They're natural to there. They're not invasive. That's
okay.
their homeland.
No idea what was introduced there.
Camels.
Camels are in?
Camels are the most invasive species in Australia.
I didn't even know they were in Australia.
They're perfect to go across the desert. They were brought in
Sure.
a long time ago. They got loose. They're out in the wild now. Apparently, it's a big problem.
Sounds like there needs to be a hunt.
It sounds like there might be one coming. Pointless Facts had to change the subject. I don't like when he gets sappy on me. Thank you
sorry.
so much for watching. As always, you got me all screwed up now. This is Sports Talk with Dad. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.